Honourable Member for Elwick.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Honourable Acting Leader. It's question number 16 of 2025. Acting Leader, I, along with many in my community, have become increasingly frustrated with the amount of time and money spent on countless studies regarding the activation of the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor, with no action or timelines for action in sight. Last October in budget estimates, I asked a number of questions of the Minister for Transport regarding the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor, referring to it as one of the most overstudied pieces of infrastructure in the history of transport projects. The response was that the strategic business case approval is required to obtain the necessary funding from the Australian Government, and this business case will be delivered to Government in early 2025. Honourable Acting Leader, my questions are: 1, has the strategic business case yet been delivered? If not, when will it be delivered and why the delay? 2, what other work is underway or planned to activate the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor as a transport solution and a medium density housing urban growth solution? 3, will or did, noting I asked this question back in the April sitting prior to the federal election but wasn't advised there was an answer ready until recently. So did the government include advocacy for the activation of the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor for transport and or housing as a priority in its federal election advocacy? And 4, can you provide assurance that the $52 million of state and federal funding for the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor remains secure and will be allocated only to the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor and not frittered away on further studies and reports?
The Honourable Acting Leader.
Thank you, Mr President, and thank the member for the question. Answer to question 1. The Department of State Growth is currently finalising the strategic business case for a Greater Hobart Rapid Bus Network. It provides an economic appraisal of a rapid bus network compared to other options to improve public transport across Greater Hobart. Extra work has been undertaken to assess the variables that impact the transport benefits and ensure that wider economic benefits have been considered. The strategic business case is expected to be completed by mid-2025. 2, concept designs for a 2-way busway and stations between Glenorchy and Cornelian Bay has started and will be completed by early 2026. This work has included recent site investigations, including borehole drilling, baseline noise monitoring and survey along the corridor. More detailed cost estimates will be developed at the end of the concept design process. Following the release of the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor Growth Strategy in 2024, planning work for urban growth will continue in 2025 with the development of a corridor plan to be managed by Glenorchy City Council. The corridor plan will provide a framework for land use and development within the corridor's walkable catchments, ensuring coordinated planning for housing, employment and public spaces is aligned with the transport investment. 3, the Australian Government has requested that a detailed business case be prepared for activation of the NSTC corridor before funding for construction will be provided. 4, the Australian Government has committed $40.5 million of funding in its budget for Hobart Public Transport Infrastructure Planning, which until 2024 they previously had identified as funding for the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor. The Tasmanian Government was not advised or consulted on the Australian Government name change. Combined with the $13.5 million of state funding, a total of $54 million has been committed. The Australian Government has specified that the Hobart Public Transport Infrastructure Planning funds are to be used to plan upgrades to Hobart's public, active and marine transport networks, including the Hobart Rapid Bus Network between major centres along key corridors, enabling public transport infrastructure, bus stations and ferry terminals, and to undertake further public transport planning on the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor. This overall funding amount is sufficient for planning and design of the Northern Suburbs Transit Corridor transport solution. Additional funding, however, would be required for construction, including additional Australian Government funding.
Honourable Member.